These are the players you must avoid bringing into your team for Game Week 6. In this video, I'm going to be ranking the most transferred out players ahead of Game Week 6. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe for more FPL content from the FPL chairman. We're going to be ranking from S tier all the way down to D tier. S tier is a must-sell FPL player. A is a decent sell if it helps you strengthen your team. B is a situational, optional transfer. C is a player that I would not recommend selling and I would hold. And D is a player that I would definitely avoid and get out of your FPL teams. Starting off the video with Alexander Isak. Obviously coming off of Game Week 5 where he didn't start for Newcastle and Callum Wilson getting the nod ahead. This is a player that I would have previously in videos said that you need to have in your team. However, the minutes are a risk with Isak following Game Week 5. I think if we look ahead to Newcastle and European fixtures coming up as well, I think there is definitely going to be an element of rotation. And I think there are a lot of attackers for Newcastle that can rotate in and out of a lot of positions. So for me, Isak is someone that if he is in your team, I think it's optional, depending on if you want to make a move for other forwards. Players like Julian Alvarez who continue to climb and continue to perform very well. However, there aren't a lot of forwards that are overperforming at the moment. So I would say definitely Isak is a situational option. I don't think he's always going to be starting on the bench for Newcastle. I think it is going to be a rotational. He is going to be part of the rotating squad, and it's not something I'm saying you definitely need to move for Callum Wilson. So I think if it strengthens your squad by transferring him out, then I would do. If not, I think he's still a decent player who can get points. The next player is Nicholas Jackson. I'm ranking him at A tier in terms of a good sell. I think a lot of FPL managers have given Nicholas Jackson a lot of chances in terms of being in their FPL squad, and he continues to fail to deliver. Obviously playing with a very underperforming Chelsea squad at the moment. Obviously coming off an away 0-0 draw to Bournemouth, which I think, given how bad Game Week 5 was, a lot of FPL managers were laying their hopes on Nicholas Jackson. So for me, I think there are better players that you can downgrade to, again, like Julian Alvarez, and I would do if you are someone that has Nicholas Jackson. But again, guys, if you are enjoying the content and you want to see more from me, make sure to like, follow, subscribe for more FPL content coming. The next player is Ben Chilwell. Also talking from an underperforming Chelsea side, I think Ben Chilwell is actually a good sell in your squad. I think there are more stronger options in defence at the moment. Newcastle defence, I think, are very nailed on in terms of minutes in comparison to their attackers, Shah, Botman, Trippier. So if Chilwell can unlock the money to invest in those defenders, then I definitely would do. Chelsea fixtures are okay for the next four. However, they become them a lot more difficult. Villa at home is not an easy fixture. Fulham away, I think, could still be tough for an underperforming Chelsea side. And then Burnley away, which is the sort of the last week I would string my hopes on for Chelsea players and their performance. But Chilwell, good sell. The next player is Marcus Rashford. Again, disappointing a lot of FPL managers with United's very disappointing 3-1 loss at home to Brighton. I still think Marcus Rashford has value. United are creating a lot of attacking chances. However, they're just not converting at the moment. However, if you look ahead from Game Week 6 onwards in terms of their fixtures, they're great. Burnley away, Palace at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United away before the Manchester derby. I still do think there are definitely chances of points for Man United players. And although Marcus Rashford obviously comes with quite a high price tag of 8.9 million, I don't think you need to be panic and knee-jerk in selling him out of your team. So Marcus Rashford would be a hold for me. I think there are points to come. The next most transferred out player is Ollie Watkins, 8 million at the moment, but expecting his price to drop. I would say he's a good sell. Again, he has returned 4 times with 4 assists so far since game week 1. However, you bring in these high price tag forwards for goals, and at the moment Ollie Watkins isn't converting. Actually quite lucky to get a assist in game week 5 for the leading up to the penalty. And again, we're seeing Ollie Watkins isn't the Villa penalty taker, it's Douglas Luiz, which is also incredibly disappointing. I'm someone who has Watkins in my team, and I look ahead at Watkins. Although Villa have very good fixtures, he's 8 million for a forward who isn't converting is a worry. And again, similar to Jackson, if you can invest that money elsewhere into your team, then I definitely would do that. Onana goes into the optional. Again, for me, he is very underperforming and he probably should go in the A tier. The reason why I've put him in the B tier is a keeper transfer. I don't think keeper transfers are something that you should necessarily be chasing. A lot of keepers aren't getting clean sheets. I think only Leno, in terms of Fulham, is performing exceptionally well. But for me, Onana is, if you don't need to make a transfer to your goalkeeper and there are players actually in the outfield who aren't carrying the points, that's where I would be making my transfer. Even though United have decent fixtures, I'd be holding Onana and not looking to make a transfer if I didn't have to my keeper. Wissa is the next one. Again, goes in the B tier for me in terms of optional. A lot of big chances missed in Brentford's game in game week 5 for Wissa. He had a lot of opportunities against Newcastle. The reason why I wouldn't put him in the A tier, and I haven't put him in the A tier, is because of his price tag. I still think being a £6.1 million forward, given how attacking and how good Brentford still look, only losing 1-0 to a decent Newcastle side, I think there's value to be extracted from this player. So he is not someone who I would be rushing to get out of my team if I had him. And for that reason, I'd definitely be looking to keep him in, and I'd leave him as an optional. If you have the benefit of having potentially 2 free transfers and you don't have to make open heart surgery to your team, for example, then I'd hold on to him. The next player is our first entrant into D tier in the don't sell tier. It's Bruno Fernandez. Similar conversation in terms of Marcus Rashford and United players. Fixtures are great. He's on penalties. 8.4 million for what he can potentially pull as long as United bounce back and actually start to perform in these strong fixtures. He would be someone that I'd hold in my team. He'd be someone that I would definitely consider keeping in a wildcard draft and keeping and putting into a wildcard team because of that exact reason. There is definitely points to be extracted. So for me, if you have Bruno Fernandez, don't panic, don't knee-jerk into selling him. He doesn't need to be sold. He's still a very good player, someone who has definitely a high point ceiling and someone who can definitely deliver in terms of United's next best fixtures. Hold. The next player is Raheem Sterling. You might be asking why, if you put Jackson and Chilwell into the A tier, does Sterling not make it? Sterling is obviously a part of that really underperforming Chelsea side. However, I do think his attacking threat and the price tag that he carries, being 7.2 million, I believe, at the time of recording, I still think he's a good FPL asset. Not essential, not amazing, because obviously Chelsea aren't performing where they need to be at the moment. But I think it's a similar bracket to Wissa in terms of a player who is middle of the road in terms of value and someone who does have a very high ceiling, and someone who is just not delivering at the moment. So I'm not telling you to hold on to him and keep holding out for Chelsea to turn around. I'm saying if you have the luxury of 2 free transfers and you want to move to players like Maddison or Mbemu if you don't have him, then do it. But if you don't need to do that, then I would be looking to keep him in my team. Someone who has Sterling in my team and actually someone who brought him in for game week 5, I still think with the Chelsea's next 3 fixtures, there's points that can be definitely gained from having Sterling in your team. The next player looking to Liverpool players is Diaz, a player who is still one of the most transferred out players amongst the other players that we're talking about here. Major concern for me and why he's in the A tier in terms of a good sell is his minutes. It's on a very fluctuating trend at the moment. Only 45 minutes of playtime against Wolves. No goals or assists since game week 2. I think for his price tag, he isn't worth keeping in your team until there's more extensive injuries to the attacking options for Liverpool. I would definitely be looking to move him out of my team and move into other players. Players like Spurs players, potentially United players as well, even players like Saka if he's not in your team, although I know Saka's really high owned. But even though Liverpool's results are really appealing, obviously winning 4 on the bounce now, his minutes are a major concern, and a player who isn't playing 90 minutes week in and week out for the price that Luis Diaz is commanding is not a good option. The last player is Darwin Núñez in our tier list, and he goes into the A tier. Very similar reason. Minutes. He didn't start. Didn't start for game week 5, which caught a lot of FPL managers off guard. He was quite highly transferred in for game week 5. But I think with Liverpool's attacking options, Gakpo, Jota, Núñez, Diaz, the fact that there are such a fluctuation in terms of their minutes and the starts, that's not the type of FPL player that you want in your team, where there is so much risk associated to that player. So I think there are better options than Darwin Núñez up front. Again, Julian Alvarez, I think, is a great shout for where he is at the moment. So for me, he is a good sell to reinvest the price that he has into other options in your team. So the call from me is, Liverpool players, hold off for now until there are more nailed on players in terms of minutes overall. So guys, this was the players to avoid for game week 6. If you do enjoy this style of video, please let me know. The last one we did for game week 5 did really well, and it's actually one of my highest viewed videos on my channel. Recently hit the 100 subscriber mark, so I'm absolutely over the moon with that. Really good to see that you guys are enjoying the content. So if you are enjoying this, please make sure you give this video a like. Massively helps me out, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Good luck for game week 6, and stay tuned for more FPL content.